welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, November 13th, 2019. Show number 1234. I'm your host, Shawn King, joined as always by
Melissa King.
How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. On tonight's show, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com with the new MacBook Pros that were released today, a new 16-inch MacBook Pro, the big iron of Mac laptops. Expensive buggers, but worth it. We'll talk to Jim about the specs on those things and whether he thinks it's the next big machine from Apple. We're also going to have a review of this thing. Crumbs on it. This thing. You know what that is? That is a wireless charging base station from the nice folks at Nomad at hellonomad.com. Short version in case you have to leave soon. It's great. Buy one. It's got 3 charging things on it, and it charges your Apple Watch. Works great. We'll talk about that later on the show. We'll also talk a little bit about kids and technology. Phil Schiller, in the interviews he did with regard to the new MacBook Pro, said some, well, lack of a better term, dumb things, in my opinion, about Chromebooks. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about kids and education because we have someone right here next to me who is, I don't know if an expert, but certainly has strong opinions about kids and education and knows about the subject being involved in it. So we'll talk to Melissa about that and you guys too. And we have a new question in our I Have a Question with Melissa segment. Melissa, the question is...
Oh, I'm doing it now.
No. Tell the audience what
the question is what to do if your spouse dies and everything you need is on the computer. It's like a safe that needs to be hacked. Because, it's not that I lay in bed and wonder about when Shawn's going to die. But I did say, hey, Shawn, what's going to happen with your Apple shares so I can pay for your funeral? How do I know that you really about the Apple shares? And then we got onto this conversation about what do you do now? You've got social media sites and you've got everything's on the computer.
So we're lying in bed, watching TV, and then she just goes, what am I going to do when you die?
Like, how do we know? But it is a valid concern. Thank you, MacMan.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Yes, it is a valid concern, but there's a way to bring that valid concern up that is less damaging to one's psyche.
Okay, I had a preamble. I said, okay, Shawn, I'm going to ask you about something that husbands and wives have to discuss. It's real life stuff that you got to talk about. What do I do if you die? So
she just wants access to my immense wealth.
Well, it wasn't out of the blue, Monty. It was just it'd been on my mind. And I mean, when do you ask it? When you're out to dinner? Why not when you're in? I mean, when do you do that?
No, it's a really interesting question, and we'll talk about it. And you folks who have been in the situation with significant others, email me, Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. How do you handle it? Is there you write it down? Is there a living will that says, hey, when I die, do this? Kind of stuff with your social media. I don't mean with your house and that kind of stuff. But it's an interesting question. We'll talk about it a little later on in the show. Want to send out a huge shout out to our friends and family in Australia. Australia fires claim the 4th life with conditions set to worsen. Things have been really bad in Australia. We've had family affected by this. You've had friends who had to evacuate their homes because of this. Mm-hmm. Even as far south, or correct me if I'm wrong, as far away as Sydney has been affected.
I messaged Scott.
Scott Thrift?
Yep, and his hometown is deeply affected, but I believe now it's getting closer to Sydney.
Mm-hmm. And you said a friend of yours, Joe, evacuated but was allowed back.
Joe evacuated, and then the southerly hit. They were expecting a southerly, and it changed the course of the fire.
What's a southerly?
A southerly is a weather change.
It's the wind change.
The wind's coming up from the south, cooler.
And blew the fire back on itself, too.
I'm not sure of the exact details. I just know there was this expected southerly that hit, and not that it's offered that much relief, but for some people it's changed
We want to tell our friends and family in Australia we're thinking about you guys, and please stay safe.
Yeah, especially my cousins in Port Macquarie
Yep.
and Helene in Port Macquarie. It is devastating.
Yeah. When
Devastating
they
to
say
be
they
in the
get out,
midst of this.
get out.
In some places now, it's actually too late to get out.
Yeah, which is an even scarier
Yep.
thought.
Yep, and people are dying trying to save their homes.
Yep, that's right.
Not to mention the wildlife.
Yeah.
It's devastating for the koala sanctuaries and things like that.
Speaking of wildlife and devastation, it was a little too soon to do it last show, but I'm going to send our condolences out to Sly. Sly and mine. Sly and I got this little kitty cat 20 years ago. And his name is Woz. Yes, after Steve Wozniak. And he passed away last week. Happily as it can possibly be, he passed away in Sly's arms. She stayed up with him. He wasn't feeling well for a few days, and Sly knew it was time, and she was going to go to the vets the next day to put him to sleep, have him put down, and then he would go stay with our other cats, Mac and Ty. But she stayed up with him all night long, and he quietly passed away in his sleep, which is a wonderful way to do it. If you gotta go, passing away in your sleep is a way to do it. So send warm thoughts out to Sly. I know
He's a handsome fellow.
He's a little old here. He's 20 here, so he's a little old and raggedy. But he was. This is the funniest one. Watch this one with this goofy cat. Got his head stuck in the chip.
Oh yeah, my banner. Yeah.
Now you can't hear the video, but Sly is cackling and snorting and laughing her ass off while the silly cat gets his head stuck. And as MacMan says, 20 years is a good long time. Yeah, he had a good long life. He had wonderful other little brother cats to play with. He had Sly, who took care of him. Sly broke my heart when she posted on Facebook that for the first time in 20 years, she came home and her apartment was silent.
Yeah, no, that's the hardest thing.
Were any kitty cats greeting her at the door and meow, 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 looking for food. See, that is, it can be argued it's harder than putting down your children.
Oh, my Giddy couldn't sleep for weeks. She said she was hysterical. She said, I don't know how to do this without my cat. So,
see, this is why you don't step over someone's words when you do a podcast. Because you stepped over my punchline. You want to try it again? This is really difficult. I mean, sometimes it's harder than putting down your children.
We don't put down children, honey. They put you down.
MacMan says, I heard it, yeah.
Thanks, MacMan.
Yeah, there's no good time either. It doesn't matter whether they're 8 years old or 20 years old. When you get a pet like that, you immediately invest everything in them from the very moment that you get them. And it doesn't matter whether it's 6 months later or 6 years later.
No.
16 years later.
Pure love.
Yeah, exactly. And we all have to go through it. And I've heard people say that they won't get pets because of that. They know the pet is they're gonna outlive the pet, and they don't want to go through that. What's your response to that?
Oh, no, you can't not have experiences because you might get sad about some result of that experience. That's ridiculous.
Exactly. It means you're giving up the good for hopefully a lot of good, years and years and years of good, especially with a good pet, for that end of life little momentary stuff that is bad.
Yeah.
And it's the Dr. Seuss line of don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you think about all the joy that animal gave you.
Yes.
And you remember them that way.
Yeah.
Dave D says, I've lost 3 cats and 3 dogs.
That's a lot. Wow.
I think you've probably done at least that many cats, haven't you?
Oh, I had a cat she was about 18, no, maybe 15, 16 when I left Australia. And I was gone for 2 years. And I could not wait to see her. I was just on the plane on the way back. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to see her. Because she was my familiar. She was my cat. And she died about a week before I got there.
Oh, that's awful.
I know.
Sherry, it's been 11 years since I put my last dog down. And it still bums me out.
Aww.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And your friend George, I mean.
George with
you
Buddy.
could just feel it
Yep,
through the Facebook
Yep.
posts.
George Knells, a great friend in the U.S. I remember when he got Buddy as a puppy. I was living in the Connecticut area. And we met Buddy. Buddy was at least part
It's a lab.
St. Bernard.
Oh.
He might have been part lab.
He
at
looked a
St.
bit
Bernard.
labbish.
Yeah. It wasn't purebred St. Bernard, but he's a wonderful dog. Big, friendly, lovely, lovely dog. And Buddy died probably about a month, 2 months ago.
2 months ago, I think,
ago.
around.
And it's devastating. There's no way, no other way to put it. Moving on, tis the season. The holidays are coming up on us fast. It's only a little over a month till Christmas. So if you're doing your Christmas shopping, this is the plea we have for you every single year around this time. If you're shopping on Amazon.com, like so many of us do, please go to our website, yourmaclifeshow.com. Right there on the left-hand side of the page, you can see our Amazon picks of the week. And even if you don't buy the thing that's on that list, if you click on that list and then click on any item in that list and then do your shopping, we get a bit of a kickback from that. And interestingly enough, right now Amazon's got a deal. If you buy $50 worth of Amazon gift cards, you get a $15 credit. If you've never bought it, it's only for those folks who've never bought an Amazon gift card before. So if you give gift cards to friends and family or to your kids or whatever, you can buy a $50 gift card and give it to them, and then Amazon gives you $15 of credit. So the gift card only costs $35. That's a good deal. That's a really good deal. Amazon's dropped the price on the new Apple AirPod Pros, so you can get those for less than what Apple is charging. So there's a bunch of Amazon deals that we've got listed, things that I'm interested in or I have bought or like. The complete Far Side, which is that gigantic, massive tome of every single Far Side cartoon, for those of you old enough from the Far Side. I've got these great Aki right angle cables. I love these things. The same kind of cables that I get from the folks at Nomad, but these are right angle cables. So they plug in rather than going straight in, they go in on an angle, which I also really like those. So a bunch of stuff on Amazon. So if you think of it, if you think of us while you're shopping, we would appreciate that. There's all kinds of things you can get on Amazon.com. One of the things, if you're looking for a game for Christmas, Melissa and I bought over the summer. Melissa and I played. We haven't played it since a couple times. This really beautiful tile game called Azul. For you folks who went with us to Lisbon, you'll recognize the tiles. The tiles are those beautiful Mediterranean tiles that you saw when we were in Lisbon. And it's actually a fun game. We actually enjoyed playing the game.
It's very visually just quite captivating. I love that.
There's the box of the game. Fairly easy to get into. It wasn't too complicated once we wrapped our mind around what the game was trying to get us to do. But we enjoyed playing it. So if you're interested, if you're looking for a board game,
I'm loving our tiles on our bench. Truly, they glow. These tiles we got. They in the rain they look beautiful. In the I'm getting a lot of pleasure out of where we've put them. We have 2 more to mount somewhere, but these ones, the blue, yellow, turquoise, and yellow, gorgeous.
Because it rains a lot here, because the bench that we built is made out of paving concrete blocks. It gets very dark. It's very dark here anyway. But we put the 6 of the tiles in the back of the paving blocks. What are they called?
Cinder blocks.
Cinder blocks. And glued in the back of the cinder blocks.
Yeah.
And they really stand out.
Oh, the bench just pops out now. It's quite funky.
Even when it's like dark and dreary and gray outside, the bench has these really wonderful pops of color. So that was absolutely, definitely worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, later on the show, I have a question with Melissa, and her question is, what is she going to do when I die? Laugh uproariously is not exactly what I was looking for. Jesus.
It's a silly thing to talk about.
Actually, it's not. It's
party, celebrate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Get remarried as soon as possible.
Oh, no.
But up next, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about the new MacBook Pros and a bunch of other things. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining me here this Wednesday evening on the show. As always, in our phone room, we've got our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Shawn. How are you?
I am good. Apple this morning announced what was been rumored for quite some time, the new MacBook Pro 16-inch machine. First things first, is this a machine that you feel at this point in your aged life that you would need or want?
I don't want to talk about the MacBook Pro. Move on.
Thanks. It's boring. Let's move on. Who cares?
Move on. So the MacBook Pro, the new one, I don't know if you heard, but it has a new keyboard.
I think I read something at the bottom of some reports about that.
Yeah, it might have a new keyboard. And you know, it's kind of sad.
Hang on. Yeah, I was going to say, is it sad, funny, or good that seems to be the most important thing of every person who's reviewed this damn thing so far?
Well, you know, I looked at it from, you know, a Mac Pro thing. Yep. You know, and I don't mean Mac Pro. I mean like as a pro music user, a pro photographer using a MacBook in the field. You get this incredible machine, yep. And all anybody cares about is this keyboard. You know,
the first thing in every single review is about the keyboard.
Every single one was the keyboard. Yeah. So to be clear, yeah, I get it, and it's like I said in the story I posted this afternoon. What a difference a day and a new keyboard makes.
Yeah.
Because if you talk to somebody yesterday about the MacBook Pro, they would say, "Oh, that keyboard." If you talk to somebody today, they would say, "Oh my God, that keyboard."
Yeah.
Forget the fact that you can get 8 terabytes
That's right.
of storage, and that you have, what is it, 6 and 8 cores.
Yeah.
That goes over 2 times as fast as the quad core Mac Pro. No, none of that matters. It's the keyboard. Now, to be fair to those that had problems with their keyboards, I understand that it doesn't matter how fast it is and how much storage you have if you can't type a letter.
Yep.
I get that. I really do. But I guess that's kind of proof of how bad Apple really did with this butterfly mechanism over the past several years, that is the number one thing. I'm betting that they had hoped that it wouldn't be the number one thing, but it is.
I don't think for a second that Apple thought that. I don't think for a second that Apple thought, well, we'll get these influencers into a room in New York and talk about this, and none of them will mention the keyboard. They'll be happy that we made this new machine. Apple had to know this was going to happen, and I think reading the review, watching the interview with Phil Schiller, it was pretty obvious that they were pretty well prepped on the kind of questions they were going to get asked and the kind of responses they were going to give. Schiller was very clear in saying that this was not a admission of failure of the previous keyboard, although we all know it was.
Well, see, here's what I don't understand. So, and I said this in the story this afternoon. I never had a problem with the butterfly keyboard, and I've had several of them. I've never had a single problem with any of them. So I don't get why Apple, with its engineering prowess, wasn't able to fix it for everybody.
That's right.
That's one thing that still bothers me. That I don't understand that. How does that happen? But apparently it did, because people are still complaining about it.
Well, the only thing I've ever been able to figure out is that it was a very low percentage of overall users. Let's say they sold 1 million of them, and only 1.1% or 1,000 of them had a bad keyboard. But because this machine is particularly favorite of those with big platforms, bloggers, YouTubers, the media, those 1,000 people had an outsized voice that drowned out the people like you who had no problems whatsoever. Because we all know the vast majority of people had no problems whatsoever. That's just obvious that would be true. What percentage of people had problems? We don't know. Enough that Apple instituted a program to protect those keyboards for the life of the machine, and don't have that same keyboard program on this machine. So I think that shows Apple admitting there was definitely something wrong with them, but they will never, ever, ever come out and say that, yeah, we screwed this one up.
But if you look at the press release from the last MacBook Pro and what was announced then when they redesigned the butterfly keyboard, they said that they fixed it then, that they found the problem basically, and that they fixed it then.
Right.
And I don't know if the complaints have gone down since then, or what has happened, and I don't know if there's even a way that we can find out if they've gone down since then.
We'll never find out.
So, but now they've gone back to, well, and let's be careful about this. They haven't gone back to the scissor mechanism completely. They've redesigned the scissor mechanism. But, geez, that's, I don't know.
It's
I don't know.
really interesting. And other folks, someone said on Loop this morning. They were worried that this put a seed of doubt in their minds because Schiller didn't commit to this keyboard being in future versions of the MacBook Air or the MacBook. And I wrote, don't worry about it. I guarantee that whatever this keyboard is, this Magic Keyboard that isn't really a Magic Keyboard, whatever keyboard this is going to be in the next MacBook, is going to be in the next MacBook Air. I promise you, whatever devices had the butterfly keyboard will have this new so-called Magic Keyboard next time around. So don't worry about that.
No, the Magic Keyboard is the desktop keyboard.
Yes.
So they redeveloped the desktop keyboard to go along with a notebook.
Yes.
So I mean, the desktop keyboard is perfect.
Yep.
There's no problem with that.
But this is not the exact same keyboard because it's a different, obviously different design, and it has to be thinner.
Yeah. Obviously, there are changes that have to be made from a Magic Keyboard to whatever is there. But still, let's
move on from the keyboard issue that we're going to assume that Apple has fixed. I'm surprised the Touch Bar is still there. Are you?
There is a version without it, though.
No, there is not. Not of this new one.
No?
Nope.
Oh, I thought that there were.
Nope. And that's what surprised me, is that they don't have two different versions. They're going all in on the Touch Bar. And Schiller was very clear in the interview with CNET that he corrected the CNET guy when the CNET guy said, "Oh, there's not very many apps that take advantage of it." And Schiller corrected him and said, "No, that's old news. Most apps now take advantage of the Touch Bar." Okay, that's fine. Okay. Do most users? I don't think they do.
I don't think they do. Now, maybe it's the way that I work, but I don't take advantage of the Touch Bar.
Yep.
I really don't. And, I think a lot of it is, it's simple ergonomics for me. I mean, unless the Touch Bar is tilted and, at least a little bit facing me, there's nothing that I can really do up there because of the way that I use it. Yep. Because I have my laptop on my lap most of the time.
Yeah.
So unless I literally lift my legs up and tilt the bar, I don't use it. So I wasn't in the habit of using it before, and I'm still not in the habit of it.
Yeah.
What are we, 2 years into Touch Bar?
Yeah, that's right.
And I said from the very beginning, it's there, it's fine, but I don't think I've used it more than a dozen times in 2 years.
I think the placement of it is awkward. You have to reach up past your keyboard in order to do it for the exact same ergonomic reasons that I think a iMac or a touchscreen MacBook wouldn't work. You have to reach up there in order to get at that Touch Bar. And I don't think it's a very good design, regardless of how many developers Apple thinks is actually using the thing. Now, Dave D in our IRC chat room says, "I like my Touch Bar." He said it works fine. I've got it set to function keys by default. That's because I work on servers that require those function keys. But that being the case, why not just use function keys?
Right. And I think that's the big difference. I mean, for what Dave is saying is absolutely true.
Yep.
You set it to function keys because that's what you're doing. Then you're basically using the old style machine.
Exactly.
Right. So what would happen if Dave used, the transitional type of Touch Bar that we have, and it changed every time you changed apps?
Yeah.
Well, I don't get it.
Yeah, that might drive you crazy.
Right. And that's I just ignore it, to be honest.
Yep. Next up, that every reviewer mentioned, I think most of us were surprised by, was the audio setup on this thing. Much better audio from an output point of view, a better bass, more speakers, better placement of it, and a much better microphone. I listened to Gruber's audio samples, and it was noticeably different what the external mic picked up versus on his older MacBook Pro versus the new one versus an iPhone versus his podcasting setup. That was an interesting thing. But is that going to matter? Do most people use their microphone for recording on their machine, do you think? I don't think so.
Well, let's not forget that this is a pro machine.
Yes. So pros aren't going to use the internal mic.
Well, I mean, if the internal mic is that good, then maybe you would.
You think?
Well, you mentioned podcasting.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going. Are you going to record an album with it? No.
Yeah.
But can you do a podcast on the road now? Well, yeah, I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it depends on what Apple's put in there, but from everything that I've heard, the new audio system is something to behold.
Yeah, it's going to sound great. There's no doubt about that, and that's a welcome surprise. It's not something we need, but it's something that you certainly appreciate once you get it.
No, I don't agree with you there. It's something that you don't need. So I don't need Photoshop to work any better than it does now because I don't use it.
Yeah.
So, I think as a pro machine, there are different things that each of us need. And I think Apple answered all of those questions with the release today. I mean, it's kind of like the Mac Pro on a scaled down version.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that really pissed me off about this supposed pro machine is that the front-facing camera, or the only camera that's got on it, is still a 72p iSight camera. Come on, Apple. They're still using a shitty-ass camera from 10 years ago in these pro machines. The least they could have done was upgrade that to a better camera.
But
you got nothing. You got nothing.
No, I do. I mean, is that something that pro users really want? I don't think so. I mean, they want something to be able to maybe FaceTime with.
Yeah.
But they're not going to record on their Mac. I mean, this is a pro machine for editing and for, even if you're doing movies or music or something and you want to FaceTime with somebody, that camera is fine.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with the camera. I really don't.
See, for me, it's a matter of, if you're going to call this a pro machine, I want everything in it to be pro. You've got a pro video card, you've got pro audio, you've got a pro screen, you've got pro keyboard, la, 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 la. And yet you got this cheesy, shitty little 720p camera. It's not a pro camera.
Why you got to be like that?
Because I just got it. I just got it.
I don't understand.
I know.
I don't know why.
Let's move on. We were talking earlier about the interview that Schiller gave to the folks at CNET, and he also did a couple of video interviews with some vlogging folks. The thing that struck me most about the interview with Schiller on CNET was he said all the usual things that you say that Schiller is can do in his sleep now. He's done enough interviews about Apple's products that this guy is the vice president of worldwide product marketing, so he knows what to say. But at the end of the CNET interview, he said something that, to me, can only be described as remarkably stupid. He said that now I'm just trying to pull up the article to make sure I read what he said correctly. He's talking about the MacBook Pro, because that's what the interview is about, and education. And he says, we did a study many years ago in education with the importance and role of technology in the classroom. How can it help with the education process? He said the result of this education research we did was that students who succeed are the ones who are most engaged. Okay, we can't disagree with that, right? The students who are most engaged in the process are the ones who are more likely to succeed. That's not a problem. That's completely understandable. But he says kids who are really into learning and want to learn will have better success. Also true. It's not hard to understand why kids aren't engaged in a classroom without applying technology in a way that inspires them. You need to have these cutting-edge learning tools to help kids really achieve their best results. Yet Chromebooks don't do that, Schiller said. Chromebooks have gotten to the classroom because, frankly, they're cheap testing tools for required testing. If all you want to do is test kids, well, maybe a cheap notebook will do that, but they're not going to succeed. What do you think about Schiller's comments with regards to the Chromebook?
I think he's absolutely right.
No, he's not.
Is.
No, he's not right.
He is. He's absolutely right.
He is not right at all.
Look, there is a difference between being able to challenge a student and being able to, offer a student the very basics in technology. I mean, what he said was absolutely correct.
It's not correct, not even a little bit. It was a dumb thing to say.
No.
Yes, it was.
He's right, and you're dumb.
MacMan says he's half right and half full of shit. Okay, I'll give you that.
No, I think he's right. I mean, if what your life consists of is for targeting your goals is to target a Chromebook,
he said
you're not gonna succeed. If your life is to target something more, then you are going to.
He said you need to have these cutting-edge learning tools. What he means by that is iPads and MacBooks and MacBook Airs and Pros. You need to have these cutting-edge learning tools to help kids really achieve their best results. Schiller is saying that children can't get their best results unless they use Apple products. That's stupid.
I agree.
No, you can't. You can't agree with that. Did you do well in school?
Hey, listen, Don Cherry.
Did you people do well in school? And where's your goddamn poppy? all these brown people walking around Toronto without a poppy on.
Jesus, you're just, why are you yelling at me?
That's what Don Cherry does.
You just keep yelling at me.
You're my
all the time.
You're my Ron McLean.
Every week you yell at me. That's what I got to put up with.
Well, I yell at you. You call me names. It seems to work.
I think that if you have the best technology on hand, you are going to be more successful than if you don't. I have little to no respect for a Chromebook. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's not even a real thing to help students.
Do you
obviously you think different?
Do you honestly believe that children can't do their best work if they're using a Chromebook?
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
That is not ridiculous at all.
Were you a good student in school?
I was fucking awesome.
Did you have a Chromebook?
No, I used Macs.
You didn't use Macs in school. They didn't even have Macs in school. You used a rock that you banged into another rock with a stick.
That is true. That is true.
And I don't mean that he's old. I mean, that's what we had back in Nova Scotia. That's all we really had.
No, that's true.
We used fish hooks. We used fish bones to right into the sand. No, we didn't have. No. It's only this generation of kids, in the last 10, 15 years, that have access to these kinds of tools. The implication of what he's saying is those of us who came before didn't reach our full potential because we didn't have an Apple laptop. That's stupid.
No, come on. I mean, why are you doing this?
Because it's fun.
Oh, you're being like this just out of spite, I think.
I'm not actually being this way out of spite. What I'm saying...
Because I think he's right.
No, he's not right. He is absolutely not right.
He absolutely is.
What he's saying is that every school district that's poor is putting out stupid students, and that's offensive. This is a rich white guy. This is a rich white guy who's saying schools should buy rich white guy tools Otherwise, their kids will not succeed. That's offensive.
Wow.
No, not wow. That's exactly what Schiller is saying.
This is what it's coming to now on your show. I mean, this is it. This is it. Right here. I mean, come on, Don Cherry.
Apple could make a machine specifically for schools that competed with the Chromebook. They don't want to. They want schools to buy their $1,000.
You know why? Because it sucks so bad. That's why they don't do it. Look, Shawn, I remember in 2009 when people said, if Apple wants to compete anymore in this market, they have to make what were those little shitty computers that everybody was making back then?
E-mates?
You know, they were
netbooks.
So netbooks, the little shitty things that, and I wrote an article at that point where you can go back and look, and I said Apple will never make one of these machines because it sucks so bad. And I was right.
Yeah, that was back then.
I was right.
And Apple could make that machine now at a price point that, because the vast majority of schools simply cannot afford to give every one of their children an iPad or every one of their children a MacBook. They can't do it. And there's objective studies that show using Chromebooks is not a bad thing. That the process of using a Chromebook,
who were those put out by Google?
A Chromebook is not as powerful as a MacBook Pro. That's without doubt true. Not as powerful as a MacBook or an iPad, but the suite that Google provides, the collaboration tools that Google has.
Oh, come on!
They do. They've got much better collaboration tools than Apple does. Melissa is in the school district here on the Sunshine Coast, and they are all, the whole school district is all Macs. Teachers.
You don't live on the Sunshine Coast. You live on the rainy coast. So let's be honest. I mean, if you're going to start that crap, then I'm going to call you out on it because I know exactly where you live.
By the way, Monty points out that, Jim, you won't have to take this kind of abuse on our podcast.
Yeah. I love Monty. I really do. I do.
What the most important?
I can't wait till we start that podcast.
That's right. The most important thing for a student's ability to learn is the teacher. It's not the tools that the kid gets from the school district. But if you want your kid to use technology and you're in a poor school district, you can't afford a MacBook. Schiller is ignoring that. And they could fix that problem in a heartbeat if they wanted to. They don't want to. They don't want to compete with Chromebooks on price. They want to. And a school district is irresponsible for kids in, say, grade 3. Yes, in high school, I get it. High school kids maybe should get MacBook Airs and those kind of devices. But a kid in grade 3, a 9-year-old, a Chromebook to do his schoolwork is absolutely fine. And a school district can buy 3 and 4 of those for the price of one MacBook. So a school district would be irresponsible to, if they've got $1,000 to buy one MacBook versus 3 Chromebooks.
I think you're wrong.
You have no data to back that up. You just have an opinion.
Well, you only have an opinion. And your opinion is wrong. And Monty and I both agree.
Schiller tried to walk back his statements a little bit this afternoon. He tweeted, "Every child has the ability to succeed." That's also not true. "Helping them do that has always been our mission." In the full conversation with CNET, he's kind of intimating that CNET edited his words. "We discussed giving kids and teachers the content, curriculum, and tools they need to learn, explore, and grow, not just to take tests."
To be clear, CNET did say this is an edited version.
You're right. And maybe tomorrow CNET will post the entire thing so we can hear all the other things. But the bottom line is, yes, Schiller is right. We need to give kids and teachers content, curriculum, and tools. Apple is giving them content, they're giving them curriculum, but they're making the tools prohibitively expensive for the vast majority of school districts.
I don't agree. I don't agree.
JKVT says, Chromebooks at my kid's school are all touchscreen and integrate with Google Cloud and Gmail. They own these kids. And they may not own these kids forever. The kids may change their mind once they get to university or even high school. But right now, for cash-strapped school districts,
okay,
if you're a rich school district, go ahead and buy MacBooks. But the vast majority of school districts can't afford to buy MacBooks.
Okay, but Gmail does not make a student smarter or better.
But now there's a mail app.
No,
what's your point?
Well, you just said that he said that, it integrates with Gmail.
Yes.
Well, that doesn't make a kid smarter.
He didn't say it did. He's just saying that the integration is very tight.
Okay. And why do you think that is?
Because Google's done a good job of integrating what Schiller says, content, curriculum, and tools.
Oh, Shawn.
What? Where am I wrong?
Shawn, wow. I mean, this is going to be like a 10-hour show now. I mean, I don't know what to say. You're just so wrong. You're wrong.
That's it? I'm just wrong?
You're wrong. You're wrong. I've said it many times before, but this time I really mean it. Like,
moving on. You finally watched some shows on Apple TV Plus, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Which ones have you watched?
So I watched the first episode of The Morning Show, and I watched the first episode of For All Mankind.
Okay, pick one and tell me your thoughts on it.
So I was really, really surprised that people did not like The Morning Show more than what they. I thought it was a great first episode. I really did. I thought it was great. I loved it.
Was there anything in particular you liked more than anything else?
Hey, you called me. You called me.
Oh, dear.
You know the best part of that?
What's that?
I got 4 more that I haven't even thrown in there
They
yet.
can kick around.
I thought that the first episode of The Morning Show, which is the show that I had the least interest in watching.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, was very good.
Yeah.
Because I had no idea what it was about. In hindsight, looking at it, I just didn't know what it was about.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great first episode.
I really like Jennifer Aniston, just in general. I've always liked her. I've always liked...
Oh, yeah, here we go. Here we go.
Here we go what?
Yeah, I know what you liked.
I've always liked Jennifer Aniston. I've always disliked Reese Witherspoon. So I was torn.
You pig.
You're not wrong. I mean, I can't deny a word you're saying. You're absolutely right. So that was my concern with the show, was the fact that it's going to have 2 characters, one I really, really like and one I really, really dislike, and then Steve Carell in the middle, who I'm just kind of ambivalent about. But
it's funny. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that assessment, and it is kind of strange to agree with you on something, but especially about Steve Carell. I didn't know where the hell he fit into this thing. So I don't want to give anything away on the show in case people haven't read it, but or seen it. But I really thought the first episode was good. I'm looking forward to moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen all the ones that Apple has posted, and while it's not appointment TV, I don't think it's a great show, not yet. Anyway, it may get there. It's certainly enjoyable. It's good enough to make me want to keep watching. What I really like, and I didn't think about it until it happened, the character that the actor Billy Crudup plays. I want to see Jennifer.
Who's that?
He's the president of the network. I don't think he shows
up.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think he's...
Yeah.
He may or may not show up in the first episode. I don't remember. But I really hope that at some point during the season of the show, Jennifer Aniston punches him right in his mouth. He's such a sleazeball. He's such an amalgamation of that sleazy network news president type person that we think we know all about. That I really want to see Jennifer Aniston just smack him around, just pop right in the nose. That's really want to see that.
May happen. So I would give that show a solid B+. I would definitely recommend folks watch it. I think it's a pretty good show. How about you? Letter grade. Letter grade, I would say episode A.
You give it an A, really?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Let's move on to.
I think that they did a great job in laying out the characters. I think they did a great job in laying out the scenario.
Yeah.
And so much so that I don't know where the scenario goes from here. And that's important.
Yeah.
If you already know where things are going to go, then,
Yeah, even in the first 3 episodes, there's a couple of interesting twists, and because you know that Reese Witherspoon and Aniston have to stay together for the whole series. They're the two main, the executive producers, the main actors in this.
I didn't know that. Thank you for ruining the next few episodes.
I'm sorry if you don't read the frickin' credits, dude, where it says executive producer Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston. Not my fault.
I did not read the credits.
But it's a pretty. You think you know where it's going to go, but then there are a couple twists in the second and third and the later episode that make it enough to keep you watching. For all mankind, you like it, dislike it, letter grade?
Letter grade B.
Yeah, I'd give it a B+, if only because of it's enough reality that I recognize that I like.
Yeah, it was slow.
Yes. It was particularly slow with the parts that you knew or you think you know leading up to. I was like, yeah, I know all this stuff. I know about the moon landing, that kind of stuff. Move on.
Yeah.
And I really don't like the main character, Ed, the guy who went up on Apollo 15. I don't know the actor's name, but I just don't like him. So that makes me biased against that character. But knowing a lot about the space program, I can see where they've picked and chosen from reality. And now I'm far enough along that we've gotten into the point where none of this is based in reality anymore. And for me, that gets a little more interesting.
Yeah.
Because I can't pick it apart anymore.
I give it a B.
I'd say
after 1 episode.
Yeah, I'd say B+ after 3, if only because the acting is good, the storyline is kind of interesting. I'm already biased towards alternative history TV shows.
Well,
and movies.
you showed your bias towards alternative reality in the last segment with Chromebooks. So
nice. I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
You see that? Yeah. I meant it too, I'm not apologizing.
You don't have to. I've never asked you to apologize in this show.
I'm not
never
apologize.
You've said some awful things to me over the years.
Would you apologize, Don Cherry? No, I don't think you would.
That's right. Disney Plus was also released yesterday. Did you sign up for it?
Oof, I did not.
I haven't yet
but
either.
I may be one of the only people in the U.S. that didn't.
Yeah, no kidding. 10 million signups. But I don't think that number is as big as what people want to make it out to be because the first week is free. I don't care how many sign up in the free period. I want to know how many people are signed up in 6 months' time, in 10 months' time. But I got to believe it's going to still be close to that 10 million because this is a no-brainer. This is the one of the greatest back catalogs, libraries, vaults, whatever you want to call it, of any studio ever. You can watch stuff from your childhood, from your teen years, from your college years. There's memories all over the place on this thing. For you, your kids, for you to watch with your kids, for you by yourself, for your kids to watch for themselves. Yeah, this is as close to a slam dunk as any streaming service is ever going to have. And they're going to keep those numbers.
Or I said today in the thing that I posted about that, this is as close to a monopoly as you will ever
right.
see.
Absolutely. You
And
said about general entertainment. Yep.
Yeah, for family entertainment, you will never see a monopoly like this.
They have the two biggest universes in film with the Marvel universe and the Star Wars universe right there. If all Disney Plus was Marvel and Star Wars, it would still be a freaking success.
And don't forget about Disney and Pixar.
That's right.
In there as well.
Yep.
I mean, it's a slam dunk.
Absolutely. There's nothing you can say about it. Yeah, they had some glitches yesterday, but come on, 10 million people are signing up to your website. I fully expected glitches, and I don't think that's a knock on the streaming service at all.
No.
Is this who is Disney Plus competition for, though? Do you think it's competition for Apple TV Plus or Netflix?
Nobody, because nobody has the content that Disney Plus has. So there's no competition for Disney in this realm. I bet you, I'm willing to bet you that 95% of the people that signed up for Disney Plus were family.
Yep.
The other 5% are the freaks that just like Star Wars.
Oh, you're going to get letters, dude. You are going to get letters.
No, seriously.
Jim at loopinsight.com. Don't email me. Email Jim directly, all you freaks.
No, I mean, really, 95% of those people are in families.
You are absolutely correct.
And absolutely. And I am not incorrect about those other freakish 5%. I am not. I am absolutely correct about them too.
Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with you. So you can send me emails too. Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. I can't lie. Yeah, I agree with him. He's 100% right. It's
that's what it is.
Yep.
I mean, seriously, that's what it is.
But one of the things that
it's not a bad thing.
No, not at all. One of the things that Disney Plus has an advantage over is, and I've done this, you want to watch something, so you turn on Netflix, and you have to go through that awful Netflix system, and you got to find something to watch. You click that, no. That won't happen on Disney Plus.
No.
Because you just find any one of 1,000 different comedies that you saw when you were 12, and you rewatch it. There's the Flubber movie is on here. I'm going to watch Flubber. Are you kidding me?
Right.
With Kurt Russell, I loved that when I was 12. I'm gonna watch that. It's a gimme. So yeah, this is so much more than what a lot of folks think this is going to be, and I don't know if people really understand how much Disney is going to make out of this. Buy Disney stock, because they're going to make a freaking fortune off of Disney Plus.
No, you're absolutely correct.
Yep.
I mean, there is no way that Disney is not going to make an absolute fortune off of this.
Exactly.
And it's because of the unique content that they have.
Yep.
Nobody else can compete with it. Not Hulu, who Disney owns, not Apple, not Netflix. Nobody can compete with this content.
That's right.
I mean, how many times can a kid sit down and watch Toy Story?
18,000.
Right. They have all of this.
I sat there with my niece 6 years ago when I was babysitting her, and we watched Toy Story 4 times in a row, back to back. Just so you know, and so that I'm clear and nobody else has to write this in the chat room, that is not babysitting. Okay? What is it? Well, whatever it is, it's not babysitting. You let the child sit and watch like 8 hours of movies. That's not babysitting. Well, I napped. Fair enough. Okay. You want to hear something really sad? What? Sherry in our
I think I just did.
Yeah, no, it gets worse. Sherry in our IRC chat room says, I didn't know there was any other version than the Robin Williams version of Flubber. How freaking sad is that?
Oh, wow.
And it's bad enough that I remember the Kurt Russell version as a child, and Dave D remembers the Fred McMurray version as a child. I'd forgotten about the Fred McMurray version.
Wow.
Oh, dear.
Fred McMurray.
Yeah.
Fred McMurray was in a lot of Disney movies.
He was the Kurt Russell of the 50s.
Right.
50s and mid-60s, and then Russell took over in the late 60s and early 70s when we were kids and did all those Disney movies.
So, you know who I really liked?
Who do you really like?
Was the Apple Dumpling Game.
Sorry, I completely missed that.
The Apple Dumpling Game.
Oh, God,
Do you remember that?
Yes,
Don Knotts and Tim Conway.
Yes. Oh, they were amazing.
They were
amazing comedians. I love those two guys.
And the Apple Dumpling Game movies were like some of my favorites. I love those movies.
Are you ever afraid, like I am, of going back and watching some of this old stuff because you'll find out through your adult, jaded, old sensibilities that they won't be as good?
Well, okay, there are two actors in this world that I believe their comedy will always live on. There are only two.
Yeah.
Don Knotts and Bob Newhart.
You wouldn't put Robin Williams in there?
Nope.
Interesting.
Don Knotts and Bob Newhart. Those are the two. Larry, Daryl, and Daryl.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. That's the best right there. Larry, Daryl, and Daryl.
Those are the guys who will always be funny to everybody. Like if you watch Bob Newhart and don't laugh, I wouldn't be your friend.
No, I could not be your friend if you didn't like Bob Newhart.
Absolutely couldn't. I've often used the Marx Brothers as a test for girlfriends. If they didn't like the Marx Brothers, I wouldn't date them.
Well, now you know to go to Bob Newhart.
Bob Newhart's also another one. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. If you don't like Bob Newhart, I'm done with you.
Yeah, I've always worried that going back and watching those old shows would affect my childhood memories of them. Because it happened when I moved to the States and I got Nickelodeon, which we don't have up here in Canada, or didn't at the time. And Get Smart was on. I thought, oh, that's kind of fun. I'll watch Get Smart. Because I remember as a kid running home from school. You know, I'm 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, running home from school because Get Smart started at 3:30 in the afternoon. And when you get home, you watch it, you laugh, funny, Get Smart, Get Smart. And so I'm watching a Nickelodeon. You got a beer in one hand, a cigarette in the other. And I'm watching this and going, this is crap. This is terrible.
Well, let's not forget let's be honest with people here that are listening to your show. You were running home because you would have gotten stabbed if you didn't run home.
Yeah, I would definitely would have gotten beaten up. Yes, that happened on a regular basis.
I know where you lived in Halifax, so I mean, let's be honest.
How did you know? We didn't let you white boys come down there. Jim's talking about Godden Street, which is the black area of Halifax, where I grew up.
Yeah, it was not a great place.
Unless you were escorted in by another black guy. Yeah, white guys just didn't wander through Godden Street. It's not something you did.
No. You did not go there. Oof.
Oh dear. And on that note, we got to go now. Jim Dalrymple from The Loop, loopinsight.com. He has his own podcast called The Dalrymple Report. It's up on the iTunes store. Thanks for joining me, Jim.
Thanks, Shawn.
Talk to you next week, buddy. See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, he's not wrong. It's not Compton, it's not Watts, it's not that bad, but yeah, it's up there. It was definitely not a nice neighborhood at times. When we come back, we're going to do the review of the Nomad Nomad wireless charging base station, and much more coming up on this Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining us here on this Wednesday evening, or if you're tuned in to the archive, thanks very much for taking time out of your day to listen to our foolishness. My apologies for that last segment with Jim. It triggered some people. MacMan in particular was very upset.
Oh, wow.
And I don't blame him, because Jim said some remarkably stupid things. But we'll talk about that later.
Must be a Nova Scotian thing.
Wow!
Just saying.
Wow! That was utterly unnecessary. The nice folks at Nomad, the website is hellonomad.com. Those folks who listen to the show in the past know I love Nomad stuff. I've got their cables are all over the house. They have these amazing braided cables. This cable in particular is I don't know if I can show it to you, a three-way, it's called a universal cable. It's got 3 connectors on it. So it's got a micro USB, a lightning cable, and another one. Yeah, I think another lightning USB cable. Anyway, great cables. I really like their stuff. And so they asked me if I wanted to check out their base station Apple Watch wireless charging dock. That's what it is. That's what it looks like. And I said, sure, yeah, you go ahead, send me one. Now, I don't have a base station, any kind of wireless charging station next to my bedside, neither does Melissa. I don't use the Apple Watch as in nightstand mode because it's functionally freaking useless, Apple. The nightstand mode on the Apple Watch is when you put it on a charger and on its side, you can tap it to see what time it is. Okay, that's cool. You can use it as an alarm clock. Except, this is the only alarm clock I've ever used that turned off. You can't see the screen. The screen does not stay on. The screen is not permanent on your machine like it shows in this picture. You see how the time is being shown? For whatever reason, what happens if you wake up in the middle of the night and you need to know what time it is? You can't just look at your alarm clock. You can't just look at your Apple Watch to see what time it is. You have to reach out and touch the Apple Watch, or you have to bang the table, or you have to do something to wake the Apple Watch up. And if you've got someone on the other side of you, like your beautiful wife, who wants to know what time it is, does Apple really expect her to reach over me and touch the Apple Watch? Some asshat on Twitter said, well, I just got an Apple Watch for me and one for my wife. Fuck you. That's great if you've got $1,000 to blow on 2 watches, you douche nozzle. We don't, okay? It's a stupid thing for Apple to not allow your Apple Watch to stay on and use this wonderful dial up here to change the brightness and have it just stay on to use as a clock. Like every frickin' alarm clock in the world. Anyway, that's my little rant. So that's why I've never had an Apple charging station next to the bed or any sort of thing charging next to the bed. The Apple Watch charges somewhere else. So this is a product that I've never used before. I do have a dirt cheap wireless charging thing here. This was like $10. This is just cheap plastic. If I drop this right now, it's going to break into 15 different pieces. I just know. You can just feel how cheap this thing is. Conversely, the Nomad Base Station is heavier than you think. It's not made out of cheap plastic. You can feel the difference between the plastic used in this and the plastic used in this. This is high quality, feels very good. And then surprisingly enough, this dark space that you see here where the charging coils are is leather. Now, I don't know why they did leather. I don't know whether they could choose to use a different product. Does leather conduct electricity better? I don't know. But it's great. It feels really, really nice. It's a really nice thing that they did to make this feel...
Friction. Gives it friction.
Fair point. You're right. Melissa is correct. It gives it more of a tactile sense. I really liked it. I was really surprised when we got it that it had had this much friction to it. I asked the Nomad guys, why is the Apple charging thing white? It sort of stands out from the rest of the device in a kind of a glaring way. It's mostly aesthetic. And they said that's the way Apple makes them. These come from Apple. These are Apple approved. These are Apple designed charging areas. So they get them from Apple. So this thing has got 3 separate charging coils on it. So what that means is, in theory, I don't have my... do you have your phone?
No.
Okay. In theory, you can just put your device down. You can put your AirPod case down, your iPhone, wireless iPhone charging down. Just put it down, and it will charge. Doesn't have to be exactly on the pad in exactly the right way. I tested it both this way on all 3 coils, and it works. Sometimes you have to adjust a little bit. It works absolutely fine if you lay your iPhone down lengthwise on this. It works even diagonally for the most part if you just plop it down. You do have to sort of keep an eye on it to make sure that it starts charging. But for the most part, it's a fairly easy thing to do, just to drop your iPhone down. I don't have AirPods, so I don't know how easily they will connect to it or how fast they will connect to the 3 coils, but I got to assume it's probably pretty close to the way it works for the iPhones. There are 3 lights on the front. You can't see them, but you might be able to see the 3 holes on the front of it, and the holes correspond to a wireless coil. So if your center coil is charging your device, then the center light lights up, and same with the left coil and the right coil. There is not a light for the Apple Watch. It's $140. You can probably find
Dave
it.
would like to know how it plugs in.
How it plugs in? Great question. Right there. One plug in the back.
USB or?
No, it's a traditional... down here. It is one of those plugs. See that? It's just one of the regular plugs. Nothing fancy. No USB plug. And then you've got the wall charger. The other neat thing is, and this I was very impressed by, the nice folks at Nomad, and I'll talk about this in a second. So here's the charging brick, right? Well, if you push this little button on the charging brick, and you just kind of see it right there, then button says open. Doop. It comes off. And they've included plugs for other countries.
They are just too classy, these guys.
There was no reason to do this. They could have charged you extra for this, or they could have done
Nomad, travel.
They could have done what other companies do, which is just go buy universal wall adapter plugs. But these come with 2 other universal plugs, one for Europe, and I think the other one is for Japan, if I remember my plugs correctly. But there was no need for them to do this. This is extra money. This is extra effort. Not every customer will use this, but it's a very nice little touch from the folks at Nomad. The other thing is, and as Melissa was saying, Nomad, it comes with, when you unbox the thing, it comes with, where'd it go? Don't you say a word. It was right here. What did you do with it? You moved my stuff, Melissa.
I haven't touched
You
anything.
did. Because it was right there.
I haven't touched anything. I came in and sat down.
It came with a nice little package of goodies. But one of the things it says is, Dear fellow traveler, thank you for letting us equip you with the gear you need to explore more. We hope you love your Nomad gear as much as we love it. If so, be sure to leave us a review. We also love to see what you do with your stickers. So they sent stickers. Oh, wrong shoulder. Little stickers you can put places. Be sure to tag us on Instagram. You got the tools. Now get out there and do more with less. The Nomad team. The other letter was from... I really want it. Where'd it go? Oh, no. Melissa, there it is. Behind your computer. Ha-ha! All that came in this little pouch. I like this little pouch because this is from Noah Denzel and Brian Hahn, the co-founders of Nomad. Thank you for putting your trust in our products and in our team. We got our start in 2012 when we launched on Kickstarter with the goal of making a charging cable portable enough for you to always have on you. 6 years, 50 products later, we're staying true to our mission of creating minimalist, practical tools that keep us on the go. Nomad is much more than a brand name. It's our philosophy as a company and as a team, owning fewer things, being resourceful, and seeking adventure. I love that. I think it's really cool. You go to the website, they've got all kinds of outdoorsy type things, kind of photography that Damon does, kind of not the kind of adventuring that I do, but they do more of the outdoorsy lifestyle type adventuring, canoeing and backpacking and that kind of stuff, which not knocking that at all. But so it's kind of interesting, this dichotomy of this company of making these high-tech goods, but seemingly for low-tech uses, like camping and hiking and backpacking and things like that. If you're looking for a bedside wireless charging station, this is, and $140 doesn't scare you off, it's a lot of money. This is very, very high quality. It's the same price as the Mophie one. I haven't yet reviewed the Mophie one, but this is surprisingly high quality, surprisingly solid, surprisingly good thing. So it's hellonomad.com is their website. Go check them out. The downside, though, and this is my only knock on it, is the way I use my iPhone, this is actually more functional. And I hate saying that. I absolutely hate saying that. Because for me, this sits right directly in front of me in here. So here's my iMac, and down here is my iPhone being charged wirelessly on this device. When someone tweets me, or I get an iMessage or a text, it pops up on the screen. I look down, it Face IDs me and shows me the text. This, when that happens, can't do that. While this is sitting down in front of me, wirelessly charging, doing the exact same thing as this one does, if someone texts me, or my wife messages me, or the phone rings, or whatever it is, I have to pick the phone up in order to see those notifications. And I find that really annoying. So this is not an everyday use device if you use your iPhone the way I do. This is definitely a bedside charging device. Now that I've done this review, this is where this is going to go for the next couple of weeks while I test it out next to the bedside, charging it up that way. But I can't use this on a day-to-day basis. Certainly not as easily as I can this cheap $10 piece of plastic. And I hate saying that. I wish there was some way that Nomad could incorporate this angle design into this. If one of these charging plates was angled up here, so you could charge but also see your screen at the same time. It's a I don't want to say it's a minor annoyance. It's not a huge annoyance. It is for me in the specific way that I want to charge and use my iPhone. That this does better than this. So if that's what that's the way you like to charge your phone, then go for the $10 one. But if you need or want to charge four different devices all at once, three wireless charging coils and your Apple Watch, then this is a very, very good device. You have any comments, any questions? You got some smart-ass quip to make?
No.
You want to insult your husband a little bit more?
No.
You sure?
You're just digging your own hole here.
In our I Have a Question segment with my lovely wife, Melissa,
Speaking of digging his own hole. What do I do if you die, Shawn?
So we're talking last night. It was last night. Lying in bed, just watching TV, and she said, I've got a very important question to ask you. And guys, when you hear those words, you're like,
you should hear him when I say, Shawn, I need to, say something.
We need to talk.
He goes, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, straight away. It's so horrible.
Well, my first thought is,
God.
what the hell have I done? And then I have to go
There you go. See?
I have to go through my whole day trying to figure out, how did I piss her off? What did I do? What didn't I do? What should I have done?
I tell you straight away now if you piss me off. I don't let it wait.
So you asked what we started off jokingly talking about, but turned out it's a very serious question.
It is a serious question. Well, what to do if your spouse or child, whatever, dies and everything's in the vault of the computer? Everything is in there. So what do you do? And then we went on to talk about social media and all that sort of thing.
The first thing I say is, I don't care, I'm dead. And you responded to that with?
You don't, well, when you have a family, you can't think that way.
See,
You have to be responsible.
Nice eye roll, lady.
You have to be responsible and think of your loved ones that you're leaving behind. You have to be prepared.
Up until this wonderful relationship, I've literally never had any need for a will. My will was always, and I said this publicly, come get my shit. I'm dead. I don't care. I don't care where it goes. I don't care who gets it. Whoever gets to my house first can have whatever they can carry out of the house. I don't care. I'm dead. Can't, as Melissa says, you can't do that anymore when you're in a committed, serious relationship with stuff. Because we got stuff now. We have a beautiful painting that's worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's a beautiful painting, but it's worth $80.
There's a few. We have some good paintings.
So when I started thinking about it seriously, you're right. Because of the way technology works nowadays, most of the things we have that are important are behind various electronic doors. My iPhone, if God forbid, I said the solution for Melissa would be just die as soon as I do. That'd be the easiest thing. But she didn't like that idea. But my iPhone is Face ID. Once my face is no longer available, he can't access it.
Damon, open his other eye. Is it on? Did it turn on? You, says Monty.
I wonder if there is a... Maybe I shouldn't even say this because now I'm giving away the idea. But an app that...
Death certificate number needs to be put in.
Yeah, a death app. No, seriously. So you open up the death app, and the death app says, what do you want to include? And you say Facebook. And the death app goes, okay, and it puts in your Facebook login information. And Twitter, it puts in your Twitter login information. And your banking account information. And your checking and credit card. And all that kind of stuff that's got a password to it. And it puts it in the app. And then it sends the app to you. It's password protected that you get on my deathbed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that would work.
Or you can put something very sealed in our lockbox. In the event of my death, everything is sealed, like so that you could see if it got opened for the access.
Could I use a wax seal?
Well, something like that.
I think that'd be cool.
And you'd have to say, okay, now it's time to open this because he's gone and we need to get in so we can pay for his funeral. And Macman, I've got that under. Everything is not electronic for me. If we both died in an accident, the kids could get access.
See, the problem is that you're not supposed to, and you shouldn't write down your password. Right? Now, this is an opportunity for our friends at 1Password. 1Password for death.
It's got to be.
Because you don't want to. You don't want to write down your Facebook login ID and your Twitter login ID and your banking ID. You're not supposed to write that stuff down.
Well, it's true. Dave D's saying a lawyer. You could give it all to a lawyer. But
we don't have the money for a freaking lawyer.
When I die, keep the hard drive with the photos, passwords in a safety deposit box. You see, we have a safety deposit box.
Send the rest to the shredder.
And send the rest to the shredder. Anyway, it's an interesting... It's like, because I have a lot of things in my lockbox that are very important, papers, wills, and things like that.
Passports and birth certificates.
Yes, and I have all my life insurance stuff is there. It's not a concern of mine. I often will joke now and say, okay, the life insurance stuff is there. No. So.
One of the things I said before we started thinking about this seriously was that you could, and I don't know if this would actually work. I assume it would. You could go to the bank with our marriage certificate with your ID, with my ID, driver's license, passport, birth certificate, and death certificate, and go to the bank going, he died?
I don't know, though.
I got to assume that's the way it would work.
Because what I'm left with, the residue of my mum, young woman, but she had cancer, and she still didn't do a will. And my poor brother and I were caught up in all of that for a very long time, which just drags everything on. She should have done a will. She was just a doofus.
Well, in our case, the good news is, because we're man and wife, husband and wife, sorry, if I die what's called intestate, which means no will, you get everything. That's automatic.
But I don't know how to.
I mean physically.
Yeah.
The computer, the
but
microphone.
This is like a safe, impenetrable safe that I can't get into.
I know, but what I'm saying is you physically get all those things. Now, if someone comes along and wants to lay claim to some of it, then you've got to argue with them or fight with them or go to lawyers. But if you don't have a will, the courts 95% of the time give everything to the widow anyway. But you're right. If there's a password on the computer, you need that information. But it's stuff you don't want to write down unless you do as you do. And you can go to your local hardware store, and they're going to have a fireproof lockbox.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I've got one.
If someone breaks in your house and steals your lockbox, those things are fairly easy to pick. What's more important about those things is the fireproofness, not the lockiness. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not a safe. It can be broken open.
Well, I suppose what you could do is buy a small... Well, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. But we need to think about it.
Yeah. Folks, if you're in the situation, if you have a significant other, what have you done to manage each other's affairs from beyond? One of the things that just I see every year, my friend, good friend, wonderful man, Tom Negrino. Tom Negrino was well known in the Macintosh community, passed away through assisted suicide a little over 2 years ago. And I didn't have the heart to unfollow him on Twitter. But then a year ago, I get a tweet from Tom. And Tom has said, please everyone wish my beautiful wife a happy birthday, Dora. I'm like, getting tweets from beyond the grave from Tom. And it was because Tom had set up an auto tweet, you lazy bastard, to tweet on his wife's birthday. And it was very cute when he was alive. Not so much anymore. And then this year I got it again. It was like, and I apologized. I said, Tom, I'm sorry, I got to unfollow you.
Yeah, bye, Tom.
Because that was just really...
It's not something I would want. If it was my loved one, I would be like, I don't want to keep, when you're trying to move on. I don't want to hear from you anymore, Shawn, after you're like, that's...
Oh. I don't want to hear from you.
Enough.
It's enough. That's right.
Let me move on.
So
Let me go.
It's definitely something to think about.
It really is.
Especially, again, in our electronic age. Our parents didn't have this problem because, mom and dad.
But DH makes a point, is that his wife hasn't done anything on the computer for on the decades. So it's almost like when women... Well, I was a little bit in this situation. My ex-husband, he did everything. He did all the finances, all the legal stuff, everything, life insurance stuff. He did all that because I was busy getting a degree and then going to work, and he did all that. So when we separated, I was kind of like, I was a bit frozen, and I had to set everything up for myself and do online banking. I didn't know anything. I didn't know where anything was. So it's not fair to your spouse.
DH makes a point. His wife is not a computer person.
And she doesn't, what's she going to do? She'll be in mourning, and then she'll have to deal with all that. It's just a pain. So,
but in that situation, not a lot DH can do except to make the information...
have it very available, and let her have a password or something locked up somewhere.
And then she can go to a friend, a family member, a child, and say, hey, your dad, your uncle has this. How do I get into Facebook? How do I do this stuff? Would you delete people's social media accounts?
Yes.
When they passed away? Really?
Yes.
I wouldn't. You can do it, but I would want people to leave that up as sort of a electronic gravestone.
No.
I don't want auto messages going out of my Twitter feed or my Facebook feed. But if somebody wanted to, if only because I don't want anyone else to have Shawn King on Facebook.
You won't care because you'll be dead.
They'll be dead.
Yeah. You'll be buried in the compost heap in the backyard. You'll be fine.
I have no problem with that.
No, I don't get snow. But I was saying to Shawn, because he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just just bury me in the back." And I said, cremation and funerals are big. They cost money,
Yep.
and you need to prepare your family for that.
And if there was a way to allow people to be, Washington State just passed a law that allowed this, but it's almost as expensive as cremation. To be composted, I would have no problem with that whatsoever.
Oh, no, nor I. It's not that. It's just that the process of dying is, depending where you are, can be expensive. It's funny, JKV. Just never look at your dead spouse's browser history. That's a whole other issue.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
oh, my God.
MacMan says, my grandma passed away in 2008, and there's still an entry in my iPhone's contact list
Oh, yeah.
for her. Be a cold day in hell, I'd delete that. No. You
Yeah,
don't
but that's
delete
like,
it.
I have letters that my grandmother wrote me. There's things you don't, but they're my private things. They're not social media things.
See, Monty says, I wouldn't delete the social media accounts, but I would make sure they were locked so nobody could use them. That's fair.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to lose Shawn's photographs and things like that. Like that, I would treasure that. So, and that's the other thing is there's treasures, there's family albums, it's actually, this is sort of snowballing into a whole thing here.
Yeah, interesting. Let us know what you guys are up to with that. Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Now, Melissa, I'm glad you weren't around for the Jim Dalrymple segment that literally sent MacMan out of the chat room because he got so upset by this.
Oh.
And I don't blame him because Jim said some, frankly, remarkably dumb things
Oh.
with regards to...
Is he drunk?
No, he wasn't.
Oh.
With regards to technology in the classroom, basically Jim said that kids cannot reach their full potential unless they use Apple products in school.
Well, that's just utterly ridiculous.
Thank you. Stupid. It's
That
stupid,
is
Jim.
stupid. I don't know how I've gotten through life getting through an education and a science degree without having Apple products to help me. I don't know how I'm intelligent at all.
Exactly, because what that means is that
So
everyone who didn't have one, which is everyone before this generation, I didn't have a computer. I didn't use a computer until I was in college. I was a straight A frickin' student through high school. Okay,
Me too.
so saying that is just patently stupid and offensive.
I don't even know where where's his rationale for that.
He didn't have one.
Oh.
Now, that being said,
You're welcome, MacMan.
with
Thank you for agreeing with me,
Okay.
he says.
that being said, as someone who is in the school district, you're not a teacher, but you're the occupational therapist. How important is technology nowadays to kids, to their ability to reach their potential? Do kids need technology to reach their potential?
Okay, first of all, there's no cookie cutter approach. That's part of the problem with the school system. Every child, every adult, every person on this earth is different.
Yep.
How wonderful is that? So some children, for example, if they have motor output issues and they've got lots to say, they've got a rich, wonderful imagination, they have lots to talk about and to write about. If they can't do it through printing, absolutely, give them a keyboard. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, just let them do it. There's other children that are visual learners, but it doesn't have to be a computer. It does not. They love it, and the kids all come and excitedly get their iPads or their MacBooks from the carts, but they don't get to use those all day long.
They don't take them home.
Oh, no. They're for certain lessons that the teacher may have found or been exposed to an incredible resource in terms of teaching, and they're allowed to use them for that. But reaching their potential, if they have a wonderful teacher, you can do it with books, art, conversation, projects.
Chalk on a chalkboard.
Oh my God. A talented teacher, they are a gift to this world. They
That's
are
the key.
amazing.
You
It's the teacher.
You can give every single kid in every single classroom a MacBook Pro, if you like. 16-inch MacBook Pro, $3,000.
Oh, who cares?
But if the teacher sucks, It's not going to
Oh,
make
it doesn't
a damn
matter.
difference.
I mean, and my dear, wonderful colleague Sandy, she did her master's in universal, like the whole using technology for learning. She went to a high school here, way up north, up the highway, and those kids were in grade 11. They had lost their motivation to learn. They all had an attitude. She was teaching them incredible tools to use in technology. They could have given it. It didn't matter to them anymore. It's not about that. It's about the motivation to learn and having a teacher that's drawing that out. I mean, Rory's favorite class, and he's a little tech head, his favorite class at high school is the teacher that talks to them and they have conversations and they have debates. And he said that is my favorite class other than art because he loves the design and stuff. So I don't know where Jim, that is a sweeping statement not based in any research whatsoever.
I think it's based in Jim's feeling about this, but that's not good enough for me. I want to read you what Phil Schiller said. He said, you need to have these cutting-edge learning tools, he means Apple products, to help kids really achieve their best results. Chromebooks don't do that. Do you agree that kids need cutting-edge learning tools to achieve their best results?
No.
What do they need?
A wonderful teacher, motivation, a supportive home environment or a homework club or support around them in the school sense, success. Oh my God, it's so rich with everything else. It's just another tool, really.
And I think it's a fairly unimportant tool in the grand scheme of things if all those other things fall into place. You can't have a bad teacher and good computers and have the kids succeed.
Thriving. No.
You just can't do it.
So let's give the money to the teachers, shall we?
There you go. That's a much better
I've
idea.
got a little boy. He's in grade 1 now. Actually, this is his trackpad. He is brilliant, bright and funny and curious, and he's brilliant. He is extremely physically disabled. He needs technology. Yeah. He's just got a brand new iPad, and we've got him a trackpad, and he's just doing the learning programs like crazy. He needs technology. Yeah. It's a no-brainer. But his able-bodied peers, no.
Does technology make learning better or easier?
It can make it more captivating, or it can, I think it has a lot of qualities about it that can motivate a child, but it depends on what's motivated in them. Is it the learning or is it the visuals and the fun and the giggles? And it has to be used very specifically. You have to be careful with it because sometimes kids they actually don't cope with it, with the technology.
Schiller followed up with, we discussed giving kids and teachers the content, curriculum, and tools they need to learn, explore, and grow. And yes, he's 100% right with that. Teachers and kids need content, curriculum, and tools.
Yeah.
But I think it goes in that order too. Content, curriculum, and tools. Tools are the least important thing. Tools if we're talking about technology.
Yes.
I think kids can learn and do learn, everyone who's listening to me right now is proof of that, without computers.
We all did it.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I didn't use a computer for school, or I didn't touch a computer until I was in university. Mm-hmm. We were too poor. That's the other thing that Jim maliciously doesn't seem to want to recognize. MacBooks and iPads are frickin' expensive. Yes, schools get a discount, but they still don't get as much of a discount as what Chromebooks can give them. And as I said to Jim, if a school district has a budget of $1,000 and they buy one MacBook versus buying 3 or 4 Chromebooks, the school district, the parents of that school are going to be pissed off at them because you bought one thing when you could have bought 4 things. Because there's nothing inherently better about a MacBook over a Chromebook from the point of view of a kid. Kid doesn't care. One of the things actually the Chromebooks are really good for is management. So, for example, a network administrator can lock down a Chromebook so that you can't put games on it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put apps on it. So you can do that on MacBooks. It's harder, and it requires a little more knowledge of IT stuff from your from your IT department. But none of this stuff can you just give to the kid and expect them to do what it is you expect them to do. They have to be trained on it. Teachers have to be trained on it.
They do.
They've got to learn how to use the software. Teachers have to learn how to use the software. Who's going to teach
and
the
then
teachers?
there is. I mean, now we have this massive big tech department, and everybody. I mean, these tech guys are running around because of all of the issues that are happening. I mean, we have a lot of Apple products in this district, iPads, everything.
Yep.
So there's a lot that goes along with that fiscally to support it. And sometimes I think the money could have been spent elsewhere.
MacMan says schools can barely afford to pay and hire teachers, but Jim thinks they should be buying $2,000 laptops for a classroom when a $300-$400 Chromebook or Win laptop can do that particular job just as well. JKVT, I agree, MacMan. I see how kids treat their Chromebooks. Not being bad, just being kids. No way should they have a $2,000 or $3,000 computer. I think this is a tone-deaf statement by Tim Cook. Sorry, by Phil Schiller, although Cook has said the same thing, by the way, last year. And it ignores the fact that Apple could make a Chromebook better than a Chromebook. They could make a stripped-down machine that accessed the internet, that did just Pages and just Apple's Office suite, Pages and Numbers and Keynote and that kind of stuff, and all the collaboration tools. A lower res screen, because kids don't need a 3,000 pixel screen. 8 gigabytes of RAM, smaller hard drives. Apple could do this. Apple doesn't want to. Apple doesn't want to compete with the Chromebook on value and price. They want to have these school districts just buy Apple products. And that's unfair. The vast majority of school districts can't afford this stuff. Phil Schiller and Tim Cook and the rest of the board at Apple send their kids to the high-end public schools and the high-end private schools where they can see that, yes, their children thrive because they get these devices. But kids in the school district I went to when I was a kid, they didn't have the money for this stuff. And they weren't going to have the money for this stuff.
This creates more inequity.
And that's what I was about to say. It also, the other problem is that then those kids, according to Schiller's own logic, those kids with these Apple tools, which he thinks are better than, these kids will achieve their best results with Apple tools than they won't with Chromebooks. These kids in these rich school districts are already advantaged more so than the kids in the poor district. That's not fair.
No, it's not.
That's, hey, Schiller.
It's just widening the gap.
Hey, Schiller, how about doing something about that?
Mm-hmm.
By your own logic, you're saying that these kids in the poor district should have Apple MacBooks too.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do it. You can make that possible if you so chose, but they don't. Rant over.
It's just, like I go to schools and they're desperate. I mean, it is like a high stress, adrenaline. People are just like running around. And then, like, how do we get these kids reading? And then you'll see in some schools there'll be that beautiful quintessential elderly man or woman sitting in the hall, and they're there every day, and they're teaching the kids that aren't getting to their reading levels. That to me is way more powerful than a computer. And they're teaching them how to read, and it's working, and they volunteer.
A good teacher beats the best technology.
Any day, always, forever.
I still remember grade 6, Mr. Johnson. That was
I remember a lot of my teachers.
40 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember Mr. Johnson inspiring me to read. I was a short, fat kid that everybody beat up on.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, if you want to beat these kids, be smarter than them. Learn more than them. Read more than them.
Mm-hmm.
He was wrong, but... But Mr. Johnson, I still remember, a tall guy, had a black mustache, and I just worshipped the ground he walked on because he made me want to learn.
Yeah.
He instilled a desire for knowledge and a love of reading that no computer could ever have done. It was all Mr. Johnson. That's why I am where I am today.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Shut up.
No, I mean it.
I'm teasing, yes. Anything else? Any last words?
No.
I think, Jim, much I love you, Jim, you were dead wrong on this one. Absolutely
He is dead wrong. My goodness, I don't know where he's coming from with that one.
Neither do I. I was a bit confused myself. Folks, that's it for tonight's show. I want to say thanks to the aforementioned Jim Dalrymple, wrong or otherwise. Thanks to you guys for being tuned in the show. Thanks again to the nice folks at Nomad for sending me their wonderful wireless charging station. Again, this is the Apple Watch wireless charging base station. They've got another one that doesn't charge the Apple Watch for those of you who don't have an Apple Watch. The website is Hello Nomad. Hello Nomad. I don't know why I keep saying that. Hello Nomad.
That's from Seinfeld. Hello, Newman.
Hello Newman. So I guess I'm getting it from you. HelloNomad.com. Check out. These guys are also the ones that will give you a free cable if you donate $5 and plant a tree. Go get your free cable. All right, just go get it. Donation of $5. They plant, I think, one tree. Donation of $20. They plant 20 trees on your behalf, and you get a free cable. So it's a no-brainer. Go ahead and do your little itty-bitty part to help save the planet. As always, folks, I've been Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
And you're listening to Your Mac Life. See ya.
Bye.